It's time for Inside the Patch with your Las Vegas Raiders. Here's Gnarley Charley.
Well, it's game day on Inside the Patch. It's Gnarley Charley. I'm your host, and I have got one of my favorite, he is my favorite YouTube host, and that is the truth. This is where I get my Raider information. He's actually a Valley born and bred kid. Well, I don't know if is that true, Willie? Are you from the Valley? Like all the way?
Yeah, born and raised, yeah.
All right. Well, his Wi-Fi, Willie, I know you have like 38,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel, and I am one of them. And how do I find you if I'm looking for you, Willie?
If you're looking for me, man, YouTube is the best place. Wi-Fi Willie with the IE, all one word. And then I have Instagram as well, Wi-Fi Willie, and Twitter, Real Wi-Fi Willie, because somebody had the name before me, so I had to do that.
That's cool. Well, look, so Inside the Patch is kind of a Valley thing, and we're connecting the Fresno State Raiders, of course, to the Valley. and honestly, you have made some of the greatest videos. The whole Gruden debacle, I got all my information from you. I followed you. You're like, this is a horrible thing. And I don't even have time to cover all the stuff that you've done, but please go see his video on the Gruden debacle. Go see his video on Fresno State. Before anybody who Devontae Adams was with Derek Carr, you made a huge video about that. I love all of that. I love seeing what you do, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. And just like a quick thing about the Gruden thing. You know, what surprised me the most last year is the fact that there was no competition for any Gruden content, anybody talking about the, injustice towards him from Roger Goodell in the NFL. And I did have a lot of very popular videos, but I was actually shocked that there was no content creator or nobody, no journalist or anybody really covering it and being sympathetic to the guy. So I feel like that's really just why my stuff stuck out, is because nobody else is really defending him.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm like John. My cat was named Gruden, and I changed the name to Ruggs, and I had to change it again to Jinx because I was like, oh my gosh, this is just crazy. Well, fast forward. Let's go into tonight's game, because really, and it seems like the last 14 games we've had has been, it's a season ender right now. I feel like we say this so many times. Where are you at with the Rams? What do you think?
I mean, it's true, and it does feel like last year winning 4 games in a row to get into the playoffs, that seems improbable. And sure enough, this upcoming year, we have this odd path where now I believe it's 5 more games in a row, which would make it 8 in total. I do think it's possible. The Rams are a perfect victim for the Raiders. They got tons of injuries, no Cooper Kupp. Aaron Donald might not be ready to go, and they're on like their 3rd-string quarterback, and maybe even Baker Mayfield, who just got off the plane. He might be the starting quarterback this Thursday.
Well, but my fear is we cannot overlook them. But the Raiders last year, they did their business. The last 6 games, they just did it. And I think that's where we have to be right now.
Right, and at any moment you could screw up. I mean, it could really, and that's what's so crazy about the NFL, and I think that's what keeps people watching every single week, is even if it's a team like the Rams that look totally defeated, and they have Baker Mayfield coming off the plane, and he might actually be taking snaps, a couple fumbles, and the Raiders could lose this game, like one little mistake, and you could be out of it.
Well, Hunter Renfro said something to Derek Carr. It was over the summer. They were talking about their college teams. And Hunter said that his college team could beat maybe the worst pro team. And Carr was like laughing. I'm going, not a chance. An 0-16 pro team would destroy the best college team. And I think that's where we got to realize that these guys are professional athletes. And they've won all their life.
I think Hunter Renfro, he probably has his chest out a little more being at Clemson, getting the national championship. You got Deshaun Watson at QB during that time. So he did have a pretty good lineup. But, I'm going to have to agree with Derek Carr there. Once you got veterans, man, people who've been lifting weights and training at the NFL level for several years, that's crazy. To me, I don't think a bunch of 21-year-olds could top that.
Right. Wait, what? How did you become the Raider guy? For you, did you grow up a Raider fan? How did that happen?
Yeah, I grew up a Raiders fan. Actually, I'm a millennial-aged man, and the first season that, as a child, I was fully engaged in was actually Tuck Rule. 2001 was really 2001 was really the first season that I paid full attention to, and ever since then, I'd been a Raiders fan. And unfortunately, the highs were the early years in which I engaged, right? Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. But yeah, I think that is also, I don't want to harp too much on the past, but the John Gruden connection for me, I mean, as a child, that is who I watched coaching the Raiders for the very first time. So I've been a Raiders fan since. My dad was a Raiders fan, all the way back into the 70s. And really, I just looked out into the world and saw a lot of people making content, and I've had tons of experience doing stuff like this, whether it be multimedia, short films, and stand-up comedy. I had many years in training doing that. So I just thought, hey, why not give it a shot? And apparently it's doing pretty well.
Well, I'll tell you, the way you come off is I'm interested, I believe you, and you don't say it's your boy like every other Raider content person starts off their show. No, but I really say go see. It's the Raider Rundown with Wi-Fi Willie, and I mean every day.
Every day it is just Wi-Fi Willie Raiders now because they're it's easier to find. So just Wi-Fi Willie Raiders would be the easiest way to find it, and mainly the Fresno State film, like you mentioned earlier, especially if you're from the Valley. That thing took a lot of time for me. I think I got some back problems from making that video. So check that one out, especially if you're not familiar with the Davante Adams, Derek Carr experience in Fresno. But I'm sure most of your viewers are.
All right, I'll leave the pass alone after this. But tell me what's your fondest Raider memory that stands out in your whole life?
Fondest Raider memory, of all time,
or as a kid that I love that. Like for me, I was kind of the Marcus.
You know what? I will have to say, and just basically as a child, seeing John Gruden go to the playoffs, and then the next year seeing him be the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I was still a young kid at the time. Didn't know that much about the world or how the NFL worked. And I remember just asking my parents, like, why is that guy the coach of the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl? He's supposed to be our coach. So it was a perplexing moment for me as a child until I realized the business of the NFL. Even a coach could get traded.
Yeah, that's great. And it broke my heart. That broke my heart. Leaving when Charles Woodson left, that broke my heart. When Mac left, that broke my heart. I mean, and Davante Adams healed my heart when he came. And then I'm like, I was super scared at the beginning of the season about Carr being let go. And I feel like that table's turning. I feel like, hey, we're coming into something that feels a lot like last year.
Right. It does seem more optimistic. And look, nobody, and I put this on Ziegler and McDaniels, nobody would be worrying about Derek Carr's job status next year if there was not a 1 year out in his contract. And the fact that there is a 1 year out in his contract, people are going to talk about it. People are going to think about it when the team's not doing well. People are going to say, hey, is this going to have an impact next offseason? The fact that the Raiders could release Derek Carr a few days after the Super Bowl and really have no consequence for doing it, at all. Right. And yeah, you can have a no trade clause, but that doesn't really matter if you get released. And so, I put that on them for having, I guess, that speculation occur, because they could have given a contract like Kirk Cousins where you have a few years guaranteed where there's not a 1 year out like that. They could have done that. But you're right. Ever since there's been the win streak, we see the locker room footage of McDaniels and Carr, and it seems all like friendly and whatnot. And I think this is true. I think this is real. I think perhaps I would guess. This is what I would guess. They haven't had the opportunity because we've been taking so many L's to have any of that locker room footage. You're not going to show locker room footage when guys are pissed off from losing, right? That's not what the Raiders media team's going to do. And I think the fact that they've gotten some more wins, we've been able to see some of that footage, it's been making the fans feel more positive about the relationship between McDaniels and Carr. Straight up.
I mean, it was obvious. The wheels fell off early, and I'm like, I was talking to Kenny King, ex-Raider, and I said, at least we're getting our losing out of the way early, so we can sweep the end. And you know what? It feels like it's going. I was ready to blame Taco Bell for living in Davante's house. I was ready. I was looking for a reason. And now I just feel like, man, there is a momentum that I love. I love this feeling.
Great momentum, beating great teams too. Seahawks and Chargers did seem unlikely. That was the tough spot. Really, the main reason why it fell apart, and look, and people have roasted me, and I've roasted my own self on my YouTube show because, 3 weeks ago, I was crying with Derek Carr. I was crying with Derek Carr while he was on the podium because we were tanking, in my opinion, and things were falling apart. And now I'm saying we're going to the playoffs. So This is the reality of a fan of a team. There's going to be ups and downs throughout the season. And, hey, I let my emotions – I'm an emotional guy. I let them get the best of me. When things are sinking, I'm not going to hide how I feel. I'm going to panic. And when things look good, I'm going to celebrate because you never know when the good moments will pass. You know, when your team has a win streak, you got to toast, you got to celebrate because there's a lot of teams and a lot of moments, especially as Raiders fans, where there's no win streaks.
Have you heard of the Pinky guy?
The Pinky guy.
Okay, he's a radio guy from back. Every year he picks a team and he makes it his Pinky team. And if that team wins the Super Bowl, he will cut off his pinky.
Oh my goodness.
Well, this year he picked the Raiders. Okay?
Oh my goodness.
And I thought that was pretty gutsy because on paper we looked really good. But then about 5 games into it, I'm like, oh, he's so happy. But now, but right now, Pinky Guy's got to be a slight bit nervous because at least there's a shot of him losing his pinky. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, I always go back to the Eagles. They won the Super Bowl, and they're a wild card team just a few years ago, and it was a team that you did not expect to do it. So all these teams that are in the hunt, you got to have some optimism. And if you're playing the Raiders in the playoffs, I would be much more scared of that team in the playoffs than many others that are in the hunt.
All right, tonight is the game.
Right.
And you do a thing where you actually, like, you're on, like, the Manning brothers during the game. What do you call it? What do you call that?
Yeah, I just do a live reaction and play-by-play, kind of like a watch party during the game on my YouTube channel. You could express your emotions. We have a lot of fun, interactive ways to see what the Raider Nation is thinking. And you could, laugh and laugh at my emotions. I do have some up and down moments throughout the game. I do have some moments where I'm falling apart, right? And there are moments when we're celebrating too and having a great time. And luckily, it's been a lot of great times.
I would have a hard time not cussing because I'm more of especially when the Raiders are playing. There's like that. Oh my gosh, beepity beep 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 beep.
Yeah. If I ever do cuss, I try to go away from the microphone. Just yell at them away.
All right. So what time do you start your thing tonight?
Oh, well, I'll be starting it pretty much, 30 minutes before the game. So be sure to check that out about 4:30-ish on the channel. So just make sure you subscribe or turn on notifications. Be on the lookout for it. And chime in and out. A lot of people chime in and out, especially if they're watching the game with their family. But we'll also be doing live updates, what's happening on the sideline. If somebody's injured, we'll be taking a look at what some reporters are saying about it in real time. So
I like it.
Yeah,
I love it. That's why I'm having you on it because I have the game on, I have the sound of the game, and I have Wi-Fi Willie sitting right here talking to me too. And I think it's great. So check it out. If I go to Wi-Fi Willie, is that how I do it? How do I do it?
Just search Wi-Fi Willie Raiders on YouTube and you'll find it.
Man, I thank you so much for being on. Keep it up. I listen and watch you every day. This is the legendary Wi-Fi Willie. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you. Have a good one.
We'll be back with more Inside the Patch on 1430 ESPN, your official home of the Las Vegas Raiders.